Hey folks, this is Matt Rainwater, and today we're going to read Trailer Park Warlock episode 19. And this is going to be the first episode of season 2. We're going to be starting on season 2 now, which means we're going to be getting into some really interesting territory. But I'm trying. I'm just pausing for a moment because I want to think about. All right, I knew that when I made season. Okay, start over, right? Season 2 starts with what was just going to be book 2. Because before Webtoon took me under their wing, I had initially planned on publishing Trailer Park Warlock just, online on my own website and then printing it as a book at some point later on down the road. I didn't really have like the biggest expectation for it to go where it's gone, to take off like it's taken off. And it's things have gone in a much different route, right? So when I first started season 2, I had no plans on where it ended up. I just kind of had I had a simpler story set in mind that was going to still deepen the deepen and better establish the relationship between Darla and Jake. I want to have Darla more as a main character in this story, in the storyline, which is why this episode starts off the way it does, or why this episode is the way it is. I mean, it's pretty much in the next two episodes are pretty much an entirely Darla centric episode, um, and also why it starts off darker, like a little bit more mysterious and suspenseful and weird, right? My intention was to set the tone for what would come later on in this season. And, you know, for those of y'all who've read season 2, y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all understand what I mean. So, anyway, let's get started. And we start in the middle of the forest, and we're going to be introduced to a place called the Backroads. So, here we go. What are they going to do with all those grapefruit, anyhow? No idea. Living out in the back roads could put you in a funny place. Don't have to tell me twice. Spent 2 years of my life there, and that was enough for 2 lifetimes. Let me see this sign. It says Backroads, keep out. Also, you'll have noticed the artwork's considerably changed from season 1 because from here on out, all of the episodes are done entirely digitally. And I do think that it showed, between season 1 and season 2, there's a marked improvement in artwork for sure. So the pay's worth it? Scritch, scratch. I won't have to work for the rest of the year. Don't suppose you could pass some of that my way, eh? Of course, Jake, you're helping after all. And so Jake finishes scrawling the sigil. Whoosh. Jake? Just a sigil at work, Darla. Oh. Blink. So, do I... Yeah, hand him the gift. So we have a gnome with a glowing hat. And Darla gives him what is like some kind of cosmic-looking Fabergé egg. And the gnome holds it, starts eating it. Crunch. That's your cue, Darla. Thanks. So I'm not going to read every single one of these sound effects because there's so much, but I will narrate. There's a lot of crunching and munching. And we see the gnome walk off into the darkness, crunching and munching on the egg, and Darla is following behind him, watching and listening to the sound of the crunching, and the munching, and the crunching, and the munching, and the crunching, and they're walking. And the gnome's still eating the egg, and Darla's starting to sort of get transfixed on the sound. So that's all that's left. Crunch, 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 crunch. Trailer Park Warlock, Darla in the Backroads. And the crunching sound turns into a different sound. Some webs because we have some dubstep playing. Let me see. These are all added panels, by the way, from added in addition to the print comic. These are all suggestions by editor Ethan LeBlanc. Whoop whoop whoop, including a and so these are elves, right? And including a DJ Skrillex elf. You see the elves dancing, and Darla is just walking along, listening to dubstep music. This gnome is munching and crunching on an egg, and she's just taking it all in, trying to take it all in. And we leave the party a little bit. Oh my god, though. When he tried to tell me he was a high elf, give me a break. And then the terrain gets even more mystical. We see floating mushrooms, crystals, all these fairies floating around. Hey, mind the road there, Twinkle Toes. Phew. Darla's just taking in all these sights. Some more mushrooms are floating along. It starts to get darker. The gnome's hat starts to lose its brilliance, and it's dark. Blink. Now Darla's hat is glowing. And so we go further in. We see the fairies going along, and then we see a man standing by a light post. The man notices Darla, and then Darla responds, "Sigh, that's not good." Of course. I think I should have used an asterisk for this, so that it's not like she's just literally saying sigh. Hey there, miss, you got a stick of chewing gum by any chance? And Darla just keeps walking along. Hey, I'm talking to you. Really? Nothing? We get more shots of the fairies. Darla walks along. So definitely, this is like our super quiet episode. And one of the thoughts that was going through my head when I wrote this episode is I wanted to make an episode that was very atmospheric, quiet. I don't know why. I can't remember my full thought process at the time of writing this. I just really wanted to draw something that was very visual and didn't rely so much on dialogue. It's not that she's shy. It's not that he's shy. Really? What does this say? Wait for me, babe. Whatever, I gotta get to bed. Yeah, he just doesn't talk to anybody at meetings. Did you see Elvish Idol last night? Nah, man. Last night was the Big Rascals game. So all these fairies are talking around Darla. They seem to be congregating around her. She pulls out a Sharpie pen. What's all this about? Beats me. She starts scrawling something on her hand. And looks a lot like the Will of Abandon. And that is the end of the episode. It's a very short episode. Getting it set up. We start pretty quiet on season 2. And we will finish this next episode. Another quiet episode, but very action oriented. And it's going to be very unique. I mean, it's very unique, right? In comparison to how season 1 went. And I definitely have tried to make this series a way for me to stretch myself in terms of like the kind of narratives that I do. I want to be able to try new things, experiment, and not get too caught into like a specific rhythmic formula. Just for my own personal sake as a writer, I think it just keeps me engaged and I don't get into too much of a rhythm. But we'll talk more about that as we go along. Anyway, as always, it's great to read this along with y'all. And like it says there, to be continued. So If you don't follow me on social media, you can. That's at Matt J. Rainwater on Twitter. On Instagram, it's at Matthew Rainwater. And Patreon, of course, if you're watching this, probably already follow me on Patreon, but nevertheless, patreon.com/Matt J. Rainwater. Anyway, that's all for now, and we will talk again soon, okay? Talk to you later. Bye.